of the sinner. Run! Don't run it, I should never change. There's no way you could ever entertain. Not even if you try to deny it. Try! Instead of pushing from behind. Don't do all before you never survive. You'll live a tragedy before you die. There'll be no salvation till your life. For you will always be received by the demons in its head. Who are you trying to deceive? Temptation. Go right ahead from your own shame. There's no way you can ever replicate. Not even if you try to deny the pain. There'll be no salvation till you're dead. Beyond this nightmare you have been. Turn to sense the rippling of mistakes. Drive for freedom, kill your dead man, face your very
Hey, good day, good morning. I think it's an evening time out there for Nick. But yeah, episode number 7 of Classified right now. And I do have a special guest straight from the United States of America. I want to
Hmm.
welcome the 32 flavors of Nickweiser. How are you doing, good
Oh,
sir?
I'm good, man. Happy to be on. It's really crazy and cool that I'm on a midnight stream in America. Talk to someone all from literally like halfway across the world. This is kind of like the coolest, trippiest thing ever. So very thankful to come on. We're gonna be talking some feng shui furniture, and then we're gonna talk furniture, and then we're gonna talk. I think we're gonna talk pop music.
Yeah,
And then
sure.
yeah, we're gonna talk vegan food. I don't know
Like,
any of those things.
yeah, it's really also an honor for me because I've been following you guys for almost a year now. You
Wow,
Comics
man, that's
Division,
crazy.
Culture Casino, and everyone
Hmm.
else that I look up to. Ever since I found you guys in Culture Casino and also what do you call this, Comics Division's live stream, which
Hmm.
I found Comics Division from Gary. I think that's
Hmm.
most of the meeting point. And I found Gary when I was looking up for some good content through Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So yeah, everything just came into together, and I found some cool people, and you're one of them, man. And
Thank you,
your
thank
taste in
you.
your taste in music, I think both of us are at least, so we are also a bit connected on our taste in music. Though I'm more of a progressive rock and
Hmm.
metal
Hmm.
aficionado, and Nick here is the resident metalhead.
I
Yeah,
mean, there's a few of them. I mean, you got me, and There's obviously Razor Fist is another one too. I'd
Yes.
say Razor Fist is definitely another one, but no, I'd say I'm definitely maybe I could say I'm one of them, but the is that's bold, but no, it's it's just I think that's the contribution I bring to the whole scenery in the YouTube area of our stratosphere with the nerd rocks and geeks and gamers of the
Mm,
world. I bring that metalized edge to it, so I'm definitely one of the few that proud from that perspective, and it's fun. And I've been doing this for a year and a half now, which is really bizarre because it's been a trip, man. I didn't think I would be at this point ever. Like here I am, and once again, at midnight, I talk to someone from halfway across the world. It's still like wows me. Like I still get the jitters. Like when you had that music play, which is badass, by the way.
oh yeah.
I was getting the jitters. Like, oh my god, I can't wait to do this. Like, doing this is a release, my friend, and I'm so glad you're doing this and you got a channel going because we gotta get you. We're gonna make sure we get you growing and getting you to like ascend. We got right now. We're gonna get you to 100. That's our mission.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're gonna get you to 100, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fucking fabulous. Trust
Yeah.
me.
On my end, though, I think you could actually share the sentiment. So when you were started, it's like the likes or at least a subscriber count didn't really mean much as long as you do your own thing and having
Hmm.
those great content that you guys been doing. I mean, everyone would also sympathize that at one point in doing this, we all sucked at one point.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
I did. I don't know, man. I was unbearable. I still question myself to this day, even. So don't worry, you're gonna get there too.
Yeah, I did because most of my previous content from last year are all in Facebook. So it's pretty much easier to gather a following in Facebook because most of the people I know or friends I know are doing their stuff in that platform rather in
Hmm.
YouTube. But it did make sense for me since I'm doing all of this and at least I'm planning to be monetized or at least back of my head. And it's really hard to get monetized in Facebook, man. So hard. So why don't I just try transitioning from Facebook to YouTube, which is probably one of the best things that I do.
Sure.
A-
Yeah.
And despite not having or at least transitioning also the subscribers that I have there,
Hmm.
it's far I think it's far cooler being in this platform despite also tons of bullshit that we're experiencing in YouTube.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's a topic for another day. And let's go ahead and discuss this movie because I also invited you because I know that you have some knowledge in comic books. Supposed to me,
Hmm.
I'm approaching this movie as an avid movie fan. So that's why
Hmm.
I do discussions. But yeah, let's go ahead and discuss Shang-Chi and the 10 rings or bracelets or whatever. So let's go ahead first and ask you the question. Do you also follow the comics in Shang-Chi as well?
Very, very mildly. My knowledge was
Mm,
this. I didn't know who the character was until around somewhere between 2009 through 11. And I remember there was this miniseries that came out called The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
mm,
It was a tie into a Marvel event titled Spider Island, where basically there was like a virus that took over all of New York City. And everyone also had spider powers, including like your average, normal, everyday citizen. And there was a miniseries, aka the whole kung fu one, and it revolved around Spider-Man learning martial arts from Shang-Chi because that's what we always call him, Shang-Chi, because that was just what we always did. And I remember like think, okay, so clearly this guy is a very talented fighter, and Peter Parker's learning martial arts, which he applied into his fight later on in the Spider Island arc. So I was like, oh,
mm,
okay, interesting. I wonder how long this guy been around. So I looked him up on the internet, and then I learned, oh boy, there's a whole lot of history here I didn't know, and he dates back to the '70s when you had the whole old martial arts craze.
mm,
Yeah, there you go, Deadly Hands Kung Fu Spider Island. Yeah, so that was 3 issues. Yep, I remember this, and man, it's really weird. I remember this came out 10 years ago, and thinking, okay, like how come I've never heard of this character? And I realized he was just very seldomly used And of course, he had a mini series or a few of them, way back in the day called, the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu as well. And I noticed that he kind of looked like Bruce Lee, and I learned because
Yeah.
of the whole martial arts craze. Stan Lee and crew were as like, hey, we need a character who looks like no Bruce Lee. So they just kind of say we're gonna draw Bruce Lee, but we're gonna slap the name Shang-Chi on him. And they had obviously Fu Manchu, which basically that's what Wenwu's character is. He's
Mm.
Fu Manchu, but because they're pandering to some other country, China, they're like, I was just like, they got not to use the name Fu Manchu because I think they can, but still, it's just like China. I think saw like, oh hey, you're still using this character, you're just giving him a different name
Mhm.
because I know they didn't like the pandering. So the movie ended up like it's funny because this movie is made to please China.
Yes, exactly. That's the same feel that when I watched it. Yeah, this is obviously not made for the West. This was made
No,
for I'm sorry, Asian countries like China, and they failed because this movie was banned in China overall.
yep,
Same with the Eternals, which is
mm-hmm.
also a trash pile.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
an experience in my life I will never relive again. And so, I dug some looking into some of the Shang-Chi comics, and they're pretty damn good. They're very fun. I'll tell you what, man, he was a serious son of a bitch. And when I'm watching this flick, which I didn't watch until recently, I'm like, this guy is not Bruce Lee at all. Because Shang-Chi
Mm,
is basically just Bruce Lee, but for Marvel. And that's fine. I don't mind that. I could get with that, if anything. But I watched him in the movie Simu Liu, or
Liu,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't see Shang-Chi in him. Like, I don't feel that sense of like, holy crap, this is the greatest fighter who ever lived, especially when he gets shamed by his sister and becomes the movie Shang-Chi's sister. And I was just like, it is weird because like if you see like a lot of the action sequences earlier on, he seems pretty formidable, even though
Yes.
he's very soy boyish, like before the fights. Once he actually gets in a fight, it's like, okay, he's kind of believable. He's okay, he's soy boy, but he's a talented fighter. But then all of a sudden he gets his ass handed to him by his sister. And then you see him get into all these other action sequences later on, like one against a death dealer, that whole like thing in the building. And it's like it's good, or at least it's better, but it's hard to believe because you just saw him less than 5 minutes before that get tore apart by his sister, and he no longer feels like the most like competent fighter. He just feels
Mm,
like they knocked him down to supporting role in his own movie. Like, and that seemed like a ongoing trend within the recent Marvel Phase 4 is the supporting character. I mean, I even make the argument it even happened to Black Widow when I saw Yelena. She is basically the main character to Natasha Romanoff's character, and that was really weird and awkward because that was Natasha's final movie. And you're like, wow, this is a send off, being supporting actress in your own flick, your only flick on top of that, even though we already knew you were dead. Like, yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do here, but it was pretty freaking weird. And it was hard to take fighting seriously once I saw him lose to his sister the way he did.
um, yeah, it's actually like you said a while ago, Nick. The new recent Marvel formula in having something set up for the next movie rather than concentrating on what you're doing for the present one. It's really off-putting and very weird. And for me, the biggest turnoff that I have for Marvel is, I think you also have the same sentiments too, is almost in the middle of Endgame. And why are these things coinciding that doesn't even gel? And after that, we see some movies like Black Widow, which is actually, you mentioned a while ago, a send off for the Black Widow character, which doesn't feel like a send off at all.
No,
It feels like a big setup on what Yelena future movie would be, or at least a transition to the next or the current they call this um series. I forgot the name.
She's they set her up to be in Hawkeye, which
Yeah, Hawkeye.
yeah.
It's like a big setup for Hawkeye because of the ending credits or post credits scene.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Marvel right now. I don't get it basically because all of the four releases that we have right now, because here we won't be seeing Spider-Man until the start of next year. We have
Oh,
some
are you getting in
we,
Philippines next year? Okay,
yeah,
you get in
In
Philippines. Yeah, we
January.
get it. We get it in 2 weeks. We get it in 2 weeks, and I'm kind of curious to how that movie's gonna be because at the end of the day, it's still a Sony movie. Sony makes the money from it, even though Marvel does I guess you could say the heavy lifting by making the movie. Sony's the one who gets to go to the bank with it, whatever money it makes. And if you look at at least I don't know what the box office numbers are in the Philippines, but in North America, the second highest grossing movie in North America is Venom Let There Be Carnage. And right now Ghostbusters Afterlife is right now on track to come close to that number. And
Mm,
it's interesting because these are both Sony based movies.
yep.
And regardless of how you feel about them is neither here nor there. It's the fact that you'll have Venom Let There Be Carnage, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and if Spider-Man No Way Home succeeds,
Mm,
you're at three of some of the biggest movies of the year, whether it's not just in North America, but worldwide, all be Sony movies. And if you had told me back in 2019 when Endgame was the biggest movie on top of the world that Sony was going to be the company that was going to have the hugest movies,
mm.
especially in this weird era, or it's like the critical drinker like to say, the unknown virus of unknown origins. I would have never believed it if you had told me Sony would be on top of the mountain because Shang-Chi did do well in the States, but it didn't fare anywhere as well overseas. So the bulk of its money is made is from North America. Hello, Sherry. How you doing? And you see these numbers in the old land now. Venom did both well overseas and in North America, and it's crazy because even with all the weird restrictions in the states, Let There Be Carnage opened up
Mm,
to higher numbers with all this weirdness going on than the first movie, which had none of this going on. So, in a way, that's impressive. Now, that said, I wasn't really wild about the movie, but I am also very well aware that normies are eating up that movie. So it's just really crazy to think, wow, so we might see a Venom and a Sony Spider-Man MCU movie be at the top of the pile on worldwide numbers, and
uh-huh.
you're gonna see movies like Shang-Chi and Black Widow and Eternals be at the bottom of the barrel, which you would have not thought that'd be the case 2 years ago, but yet here we are.
And as far as the blockbuster numbers out here, I think Shang-Chi just opened up Thursday
Oh.
out here.
Oh,
So we just
okay.
lifted some restrictions over 3 weeks ago. The first major movie that went out is Dune. I think that made pretty well out here. Why wouldn't
Mhm.
it? I watched
Mhm.
it and it's pretty good. Though some people might say that it's not inclined to what's written on the books. But what are we expecting? It's an adaptation, so I enjoyed Dune for the most part. Though some of the details are really shady because I can't remember the first movie. I'm more inclined to watching the first movie probably in a week or so.
Mhm.
And then Black Widow also was shown here around a week ago. I'm not sure
Mhm.
what's going on there, but I'm seeing some comments and people that it. Why are you actually showing this one? It's not really deserving about this and that, and it seems to be a bit off-putting when people are actually not interested in watching Black Widow. But it does make sense for people like us who understand movies in general, especially for you who have knowledge on comic books and everything. So my consensus in Black Widow is yeah, you could watch it for the excitement that it might invoke you when you watch it, and also for the enjoyment because you get to see Natasha and also Black Widow stand off. But to be honest, the proper send off of Black Widow is in Endgame when she got thrown off the cliff.
Yeah.
So
And that was a scene for me, at least. I mean, how I felt. I thought that was a scene well done for that movie at that point in time. I felt like,
mm,
okay, that's a very noble sacrifice that she did.
yeah,
And I actually, I've read a good amount of Black Widow comics, so I really do embrace the character. She's basically sex, drugs, rocks, and rock and roll James Bond, like, action, go, go, go style. And all of a sudden, I see this movie, and I'm just like, okay, this is definitely not what I saw in the comics, where it's this constant big, like, action spectacle. Like, you had moments of that in the flick, but there's so much family drama, and it almost gets to a point where it's soap opera. And I get you got to have, like, a supporting cast. You have our characters to connect to, because you can't put all the weight on Scarlett Johansson, and that's fair, but so the solo scene is bad. Like that scene at the dinner table, I'm like, this scene has been going on for a whole hour. But then you look at the clock, like, oh, it's only been 20 minutes. Like, oh my god, it feels like an hour because it just drags, and it just all this talk about feelings and the soap opera. Like, I don't know if you guys know what like the Maury show or the Jerry Springer show is down there, but there are these soap opera shows where people like have public breakups, and they basically they dispute it out on live TV out here.
yeah,
And you see these things, and I'm like, man, it's like these movies, these current crop of movies, they wouldn't be far out of place on the Maury show, because everyone's just crying. And just like, once again, there's a time and a place for these things, but it just seems like they don't know how to stop. It's all emotionally based.
yeah, and it's more also on the writing in these movies, story
Yeah,
writing in these
look at the
movies.
writing personnel who's involved. Yeah.
And I've been talking to people who are fans of the MCU in general, and are still sticking up for the Phase 4 products releases. And the most consistent thing that I'm hearing from them is, yeah, it's number one, it's good. It has good special effects, which is to be expected. What year are we in? And
Ooh.
number two is, oh yeah, we get to see our favorite superheroes on screen, justifiably so. You guys are
Hmm.
excited because you get to see adaptations. And number three is the most doubtful thing that I've heard is they have great story. It's like, okay, now
Mm.
I'm going to oppose you with the story.
See,
Now we have proper conversation as far as story is concerned.
I could dispute all of those things. Like now, if you want to talk about special effects, watch the special effects in like Civil War or even Doctor Strange, and then watch like the special effects in like Eternals or Black Widow, and you can tell there's a drastic decrease in the quality of the CG and like the green screens. It looks a lot more believable in those movies like Doctor Strange and Captain America: Civil War. But then
Yes.
you look at these recent movies like Black Widow and even Shang-Chi, a lot of it looks so much more faker. It looks so much like the CG quality has died down like a lot. I rewatched with my younger brother. We watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I watched it for the first time last night since I saw it opening night in theaters. And I liked it then. I
Mm.
didn't love it necessarily, but I enjoyed it. It was a solid flick. I feel like it probably just needed like it was a bit 15 minutes too long. But watching it, I'm like, I was like, I feel like I enjoyed it even more now that I did that. I don't know if that has something to do with how bad the movies have gotten, or just one of those things where I just wasn't paying attention. But regardless of all that, I was blown away by how everything looked visually. I'm like, wow, this movie looks cool to watch. I'm like, wow, Black Widow and Eternals look like shit compared to this. Like, and there's still likable characters. Granted, I feel like they did Mantis a little dirty, but there's a lot of great character moments. Like Rocket and Groot are always great. Yondu is great. There's
Mm.
still a lot of great character moments. There's likable characters. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of funny parts. Not all the jokes land, but the jokes that do land, they land. So there is still a lot, and it's still trying to entertain you first and foremost. So there is that, and it doesn't feel like, oh man, only a girl could save a guy, because I this is Shang-Chi was a big oh nope, like when Aquafina, she's falling down that whole spiel, and all of a sudden like Shang can't save her, but oh nope, Shang-Chi's sister's got it, she's got it. And I've noticed it's like it's so weird, like when they're like men are not allowed to save women, and like but women can save women. It's just such a weird thing. Like you can't have both. Like
Yeah.
I don't. It's fucking bizarre. My girlfriend, she's a normie when it comes to this content. Like she likes a lot of the earlier Marvel movies. But she and I were so bored from Eternals that she actually we out here we do get free refills for our drinks and our popcorn.
Mm.
She actually asked me if I wanted something. She never asked me for anything in a theater. And that's fine. I don't expect her to ask me for those things. But she's like, "Hey, you want me to get you anything?" I'm like, "You don't ask me that ever. You must be really bored of Eternals for you to ask me for you to go get me a refill." But yet here she was doing that. Yeah, dude, the story quality has died down. Like it really has. I could dispute all three of those points. We don't have characters that are anywhere as likable, and they're like they've gone the ray of the ray. Sorry, the way of the ray, where they're
Yeah,
just
right.
they always have their abilities and they're just amazing, and you better roll with it, or else there's something wrong with you.
To the people who can't get that reference, I think that's a Star Wars reference.
Yes.
um, yeah. Y- as far as Black Widow is concerned, and also this one, you could see a lot of parallels or at least comparisons in Black Widow and Shang-Chi, mainly with
Mhm.
the female characters or the secondary characters getting the spotlight, which is very, very sad because the first 30 minutes of Shang-Chi was, I could admit it was a bit funny and also entertaining. Then when it went down to, when it went down on Shang and also Aquafina or Katie, going to Taiwan, I think,
I
or
think
somewhere. Is it
somewhere,
Taiwan or
somewhere.
Macau? Sorry, Macau, because
Okay.
they wanted to contact the sister, and everything just went downhill after the fight with the debt dealer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, that fight scene with debt dealer is probably one of the best fight scenes in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. I can
It's
actually
got
agree on that. I agree.
and it just got squandered away because of how bad the story writing is on the second and third and fourth act of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so we get to start with Tony Leung, and uh, his name is Wen Wu, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, one
And
woo.
the opening scene was a reminiscent of what you could actually see on proper Chinese movies. The
Mm-hmm.
whole invasion thing or the whole wars thing, because I'm a big fan of the lore of Dynasty Warriors, the game, and also Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Wenwu actually played another character which is similar to the intro, or at least the first 10 minutes of this movie, which is the Red Cliff. If you know that movie, it's an epic 4-hour movie which
Mm-hmm.
involves all or at least three factions of the Chinese kingdoms going to war against each other. Wen was part of the Shu or the Wu army, and he's the lieutenant strategist. So it's almost similar here, but he does take more of a physical stance on this movie. All of the fight choreography involves him was great. And then let me just ask you a question on this one. What was your reaction on that whole bus scene? Because for me, it's a bit a mixed bag of reaction for me. And it's very
It's
funny that they call Razor Fist was actually sword arm or something.
yeah. And yeah, and that's a comic book character as well. Razor Fist is a comic book character, very, very, very obscure. So I'm all for them digging out obscure characters. I'm not one of those guys who picks a bone when there's obscure characters brought out back. I mean, sure, there are more known characters who yet to have been given the spotlight who more than deserve it. Looking at you, Richard Rider, who should be up on the screen. But that all said, I like seeing weird, obscure characters. I think that's cool. Now I know that scene like before the fight, it was very annoying because like you see Simu Liu's Shang-Chi and he comes across as very wussy and then
Yes.
Aquafina is like this high rider super crazy like living the dream type of girl, even though she's got this average job. But like you see her and you see him, it was like, wow, this guy, he's not excited about a fast car. Like it's really, really weird. Like I don't
Should
want
have
to
been
hang
the
out with this
opposite, right?
guy.
It should have been the opposite.
It
If
should
you
no,
look at
it
it.
really should be. Now, if there happens to be a girl who likes a fast car, hey, awesome. There are those that do, but they're fewer and far between, and that's just the truth of it all. But you watch it, you're thinking to myself, I don't want to hang out with that guy. And all of a sudden, like you see the fight scene start to happen, and all of a sudden you start to feel like this is not the same guy who I saw being a soy boy. And
Mm,
like the action's pretty good. Like there's some parts where the CG looks pretty bad. But other than that, like the fights actually were really cool. And I'm like, it also like my fondness of the movie was kind of growing actually. It was kind of growing.
mm,
And I'm like, okay, we got so clearly this guy's a fighter and he's pretty good at it. And I was actually getting kind of interested at that point. And then Aquafina annoys me. Like, oh man, I've never actually heard her before, but watch her in this movie. She's just very, very bad to listen
annoying.
to. I'm glad there's not like an audiobook that exists of her because that would be one of the most depressing audiobooks ever listened to. The Aquafina audiobook would be ugh.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, the action's good. And you're thinking, okay, action's kind of cool actually, despite some really bad CG at points. This guy's good. But then all of a sudden he goes to that dojo in the other country and you see what looks to be okay, super random Wong and Abomination. And it's cool because you saw the Abomination last in the Incredible Hulk from 2008.
Mm,
So like, okay, I don't know what this is connected to, but it's cool to say, okay, hey, this character still exists in this universe. So I can dig that as far as acknowledgments concerned. It lets us know that that particular movie is in canon because there's been a lot of debate whether that movie is in canon or not. Because all we've gotten from that movie is they mentioned the battle in Harlem. Obviously, Thunderbolt Ross in the movies returned for a few more movies, and now we got this guy returning from that
mm.
movie. So now it's like, okay, it's officially safe to say that movie's part of the MCU continuity. And then that fight happens with his sister, and all of a sudden,
Scratch your head on
ah,
that one.
I did because like not only it wasn't one thing where it was like a close fight, and he just kind of like it wasn't kind of like where Cap and Bucky, where Cap's like, no, dude, I don't want to fight you. Do your worst. She beat the crap out of him. It wasn't like it was a close fight either. I
No, it
could
wasn't.
maybe contend with at best I could contest with a close fight. This wasn't even close to that. She beat the shit out of him.
It's
And
like,
you're seeing this is the main hero of the
mm,
movie?
and it's like deliberately that they did in that fight. It's like, yeah, your sister's far more experienced, more powerful, and also stronger than you are, which is a very, very bad optics when you look at it. Because, as Nick said, Shang-Chi is the main character of this movie, and we are going to mention why the entire sister thing is very off-putting in a few, but yeah. It's funny that you touch upon the Abomination Wong fight scene because I was actually asking myself. I watched the old Hulk with Eric Bana. I think was he in there? Abomination was he in there, or is it with the
No,
second one? The second one.
that movie is not connected. That
Mm,
was just its own self-contained movie, and then they made the Incredible Hulk, which was
yeah,
with
that one.
Edward
Edward
Norton.
Norton.
Yes, and you had the so you now have two actors repeating their roles from that movie. You had the guy who was Thunderbolt Ross, and you got Tim Roth, who was the Abomination in that movie, now reprising it for this movie. And yeah, like I said, it's super random, but is it? I'll at least give it a pass because it lets you know, okay, that movie is part of the continuity. Because once again, it's a movie that's not acknowledged in the grand scheme of things a lot. Like it almost feels like it's like almost wants you to forget about it. So I do see those things like that. And it kind of does reassure me, like, okay, yes, that movie does come. I actually really enjoyed that when it came on. Like reception towards that was mixed back then, but I really enjoyed that flick. I really did. And it's a shame that things didn't work out with
Like,
Norton and
mm,
Marvel. It really is because it makes you think maybe there could have been another Hulk flick at the time. Maybe had things didn't go south. It's real unfortunate, but Yeah,
Who who
that's just
who
the
do you,
way cookie crumbles
who,
sometimes.
who do you think is the better Hulk banner? Is it Norton or the current one?
No, here's where it's a tricky argument for me. Now, if
Mm.
you said Ruffalo after the first Avengers, I would have said Ruffalo. Because if you watch him in the first Avengers, he's really good.
Yes, yeah.
He's great as Banner, and then when he becomes the Hulk, you feel the impact of it. He's crushing, he's destroying everything in his way, and he kind of like makes you want to be afraid for when that creature comes out. So you're
Mm.
thinking, wow, he really got it. But then as time went on, he stopped being Bruce Banner and Hulk. He started becoming Mark Ruffalo self insert into this character. So it's like he started off as the Hulk and Banner and very well. And then over time, the character became Mark Ruffalo when it's supposed to be Mark Ruffalo becomes Banner, not Banner becomes Ruffalo. So I'm going to have to say, like, no, now that we're in the whole, what, 12, 13 years of this. I
Yes.
meant to say Edward Norton overall, but if it had left, if Mark Ruffalo had maintained the quality of what he was at First Avengers, I probably would have made the argument for his sake, despite how insane in the head that man is. He was good. He was good. Like, come on, that scene where he meets Natasha earlier on, great scene.
Mm.
Fantastic scene. Where he talks about letting the big guy out. You feel the suspension when he finally becomes the Hulk. He's chasing Widow down that hallway. Like, dude, she pissed off the beast, and like
Yeah.
you see Thor's like, oh god, what do we do? You feel there's a tension there. You feel the fear, like, oh crap, we let the Hulk out, and even Iron Man's just like, hey, we got a Hulk. Like they're propping this character like this is the guy you don't want to make angry, but then Ragnarok happens in Endgame, and those movies have their moments, but one of the misses is the Hulk because he starts becoming not the Hulk anymore.
Mm.
He's almost more Mark Ruffalo.
I didn't also like the whole Professor Hulk stick. I didn't enjoy it for some reason. You could speak more because you have more knowledge about it, or at least a character in a
Yeah.
comic sense, but it doesn't it didn't feel like the Hulk that I know. Even me, I'm following guys like comic historian. I'm at least being aware on how the character is, but why is the Professor Hulk acting like this? I know he should be a top intellect sorts of version of the Hulk, but it's not the same thing
It's
that I'm envisioning him based on what I've seen before.
and that's because, as I said earlier, it's because they're giving you the idea of, hey, look, this is Professor Hulk, but once again, it's really not because if it was
Mark Ruffalo.
actual Professor Hulk, like from some of the '90s comics, Peter David era, I could get with that for a temporary time, but I would say that's something that has a very limited lifespan. But we're not even getting that. We're getting Mark Ruffalo, Professor Hulk. This is not Professor Hulk. This is Mark Ruffalo, Professor.
Mm,
So, and that's sad because it's. I mean, once again, the dude's a lunatic. He's a psycho. But when he actually applies himself, he does get the job done. But I don't know if like he started changing like his ways of acting, or did the
maybe
studio
so.
say, "Hey, you can do what you want the role now that you've got people." I don't know. Obviously, I don't work for those movies, but
Mm,
something happened because when you see him in the first Avengers, and that seems like that's my thing, Cap. I'm always angry, and all of a sudden he punches the shit out of that giant Chitauri. It's
yep.
badass. There's so many great Hulk moments in that movie. There's so many
Yeah,
of them.
Avengers is aging to be a far superior movie right now compared to
Yeah.
what's being released. And that's an
Yeah.
introduction movie to Avengers. A lot has
Yeah.
happened between now and then. If you compare that to Endgame, I would still prefer watching the first Avengers movie rather than Endgame. Because
Mhm.
what I felt about Endgame is more my girlfriend and I watched an Endgame on my birthday. So that was a
Okay.
bit special for me before, and we did enjoy the action scenes and how they came together at the last part. But now we're seeing it in a bigger spectrum. Now it's like, why did you guys actually do this? When I watched it again, it's like, no. Is this even, or did this part really serve a greater purpose in the movie? It's like, no, especially the whole A Force thing. going on there. Uh, well, yeah, they could have done it in a more subtle way. Like we know these characters have their own strengths. Why didn't just mix it up with the other characters rather than do this virtual signaling? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, JM, because I read some interview. I can't remember who it was in particular, but they said when they shot that scene, they were worried that they were going to come off looking as if they were pandering. I'm like, you really just went there. You're worried about if you're pandering. You guys literally were. And you're gonna try to pretend that you weren't. Like,
Right.
you know what you're doing. You could have had like 7 or 8 of them at best, but the fact that they conveniently had them all there literally makes no sense.
And who are they saving? That point, one of the best superheroes in Marvel,
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Spider
Like,
Man. Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
god.
And that's an unfortunate part too, because when you see Spider Man in Civil War, you think this is the start of a promising run for the character, but then
Mm,
everything kind of changes from then on out. Like everything changes. Like, okay, because you see him, he's super effective in the fight. No, that's involving Captain America and Iron Man and all the other heroes involved. He's working on the Falcon, the Winter Soldier, and that whole fight. You think, okay, cool, it's gonna be a good future, but then the rest happens. You're left with a very, very mixed bag of emotions and thoughts. And I'll still say though, those movies were better than Shang-Chi, though. I will say that the
yeah.
Spider-Man Tom Holland movies were better than that. One, they both had good villains. They both had good, really good villains because Michael Keaton's great as the Vulture, Jake Gyllenhaal is great as Mysterio. So you
Sure.
got that, and I'll at least take they had some aspects of watchability, but Shang-Chi, man, this should have been something good. And
It
it,
is.
it bums me out. It really does. Because I do like the comic book character. I'm not like well versed the way I am with Spider-Man or Daredevil, but I like the character. I know the basics. I understand what makes him him.
Mm,
And I don't see Simu Liu and be like, that's Shang-Chi. I can at
no.
least look at Benedict Cumberbatch and be like, okay, that's Doctor Strange. I don't get that with Shang Chi. He almost feels
They,
like he was the actor that they're like, okay, we're gonna hire this guy, but if we don't get him, we'll take Simu Liu. He's our last resort. He feels like the last resort actor for Shang
it's
Chi.
like it's like a B type of character and actor in this one. So riding off the success of crazy rich Asians, it's very funny because they're taking a lot of actors from those series.
Yes,
Um, and also my main gripe with Shang-Chi, as you mentioned a while ago, this is a Bruce Lee type hero to begin with,
yes.
and it's very hard to look for someone else that actually looks apart Bruce Lee. I mean, you could make a contest or at least an argument that Robin Shu from the old Mortal Kombat movie '96,
Mm-hmm.
that guy could have been a good Shang-Chi character
Mm-hmm.
just because of how he looks, and
Yeah,
granted
agreed.
yeah, and also how he acted in Mortal Kombat 1996. Though again, not Chinese, Japanese. I think Robin Shu. I think, or
I
is he
couldn't tell you what
Chinese?
he was,
Yeah,
but
uh,
if you look at the younger versions of Shang-Chi, he kind of looks more like
yeah, buffed up
he's
Bruce
more
Lee.
imposing. So I actually like the teenage version of Shang-Chi. I'm like, you know what? He looks more better Shang-Chi than the adult version did.
Yeah, they made
Oh.
a lot of revisions on the character, so I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, going back to the movie, uh, great tangent there as far as the MCU is concerned. At least you guys are seeing what the differences that we're coming across here on the old movies compared to the new ones.
Hmm.
Uh, let's talk about Wenwu because people are saying that Wenwu is the best character or best villain in the MCU, best character in the movie. What are your thoughts in Tony Leung's character here? But on my part, I think he did a great job as an actor. He did. I think he did the best that he could acting wise. But the script on this one's man, it really fell
He's
flat.
not bad. He's actually one of the better aspects of the movie. He's actually obviously very watchable.
Mm.
It's just I see him. I don't see. I'm like, this guy's Fu Manchu. He's totally Fu Manchu, but obviously they can't use the name because China. I had to use that China. So they're like, okay, no.
Come on, man.
So they can't use Fu Manchu, and then they're trying to attach the Mandarin name to him, which I'm like, that is super, super, super blasphemous. Because it was already bad enough what happened with the Mandarin idea. It
Iron Man
seems
3,
like
right?
yes, and
Mm.
like don't get me wrong, I enjoy that movie, especially as far as the Tony Stark PTSD goes. But that the Mandarin part did piss me off. I don't. They're gonna constantly give us these like idea based versions of the characters. Like it's like, oh, the Mandarin was an idea, or even Marvel and Captain Marvel was just like a scent like an AI. Like you're giving us these versions of the characters where they're not really an actual character. They're something else, whether it's an
Mm.
idea or artificial intelligence. It's like, why don't you just create an original character and do those things? Because when you're told, oh, hey, this character is going to be in the movie or the show, and they end up being this whole other thing, it makes it unrecognizable. You're like, that's not that. Like, it'd be weird if I took Daredevil and be like, okay, well, we're gonna make him a guy who can see,
Mm.
and he can't fight at all. Like,
Yeah.
you're thinking, okay, you could be a great actor, sure, but you're still, and you may be deliver a decent performance as some guy who's supposed to be Daredevil, sure, but it doesn't make you the Daredevil character. Because, and that's a part a lot of people don't get because they think, oh, well, if it's a good actor, it excuses everything. The thing is, it does not. You can still be talented. You can still even deliver a decent job in a role, but it doesn't make you the character you're supposed to adapt.
No.
Like that's just and there is a difference in that, especially when you look at comic books. It's giving you a visual on what makes a character by their appearance, their mannerisms. You see everything about them come to life in pages, and you want to see that come to life in the book. And I understand not every single thing is going to be a page for page like look alike, but at least try. And it feels like they don't even try with these characters. Like Shang-Chi, he feels like just a wuss guy who can every now and then have a good fight. Tony
Uh-huh.
Leon, now, as you mentioned for your statement, yeah, he's Fu Manchu. I mean, they should have just given him stuck with an original character idea, but he worked with what he had and said, okay, this is my material. And even though we're in an ocean of bad dad movies, and this is one of them, he
Yeah.
does do good. Despite everything I say, he does do good with the material he's worked with, and it's a
Mm.
shame we might not see him again.
Oh, that's really sad because you could actually cast him on a different hero
Yeah,
if you look at it, and the whole premise of Wenwu's character is really bad. The
yeah,
his whole backstory, they're trying to let us sympathize on the bad artists of the anti-heroes and also the villains, which also
hmm
has becoming a trend in Marvel that, oh yeah, we need to sympathize with this villain because she lost her mother or something like that, or uh but it doesn't erase the fact that that person is a villain for the reasons and
Oh
they've been,
yeah, they're
and they're
still
trying to,
crappy.
yeah, they're trying to erase that part and then trying to give them an arc which is not similar to what they've been as villains. um the worst part of Wenwu's character is this guy, in a DC analogy, this guy for me is like Rachel Ghul. He's
Oh,
lived
good
through a lot.
comparison.
Yeah,
Really good
he
comparison, dude.
lived through, I think, hundreds of years already, and then
Yes.
between those hundreds of years that he's lived in his lifetime, how many problems has he came across? How many villains in his life he came across? It would be very indicative of him not realizing that this is a trap when in regards to his wife and the Ten Rings.
hmm
So didn't he actually think twice that, okay, my wife is already dead? I've gathered a lot of knowledge. me meeting a lot of people, probably meeting other people from other races or even aliens. That this hasn't happened to me before, and then now my
Hmm.
wife is actually contacting me from the grave all of the sudden. Isn't that a bit ominous on his end?
Yeah.
Not realizing that okay, there's something wrong here, and the way that uh, that scene with the cave when he's punching it, the
Hmm.
first time when one of those devil things went out, that should have been a red flag to him. Out, am I doing the right thing here?
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
my wife wouldn't be associated with these kinds of monsters. So I don't know, man. What do you think about that part?
Dude, this is once again, it's not the actor's fault. He's working
Yeah,
with
it
the
isn't.
material he's
Mhm.
given with. And I feel like when they announced this movie, they didn't just announce it, but they fast tracked it the same way they did. Turns out, you know what? We got to get an Asian movie out, and we're just gonna get the script on as quick as we can, and we're just gonna hope for the best. And as long as we cast a good name, that should work out. Which even a good actor can't save a script. Like even a good actor has their limits, and you watch this material play out, and you mentioned the whole like sympathizing the villains. Like I feel like there's a time and a place for it, but the problem is it feels like now they're applying it as a one size fits all method. It's just like
Yep.
not every villain needs to be this, because if you're gonna make every villain be like this, well then there's no such thing as villains anymore. The same way there's no such thing as heroes anymore. And we do need to have heroes and villains. We need to have those. And you can't have this concept be a concept gray area, because then there's nothing that's defined. And what happens when you have nothing defined? You have no meaning to anything, and you need to have something mean something. Otherwise, the story has no meaning. It's like I want to invest in heroes. Like I watch once again, I can watch The Incredible Hulk. I can watch Age of Ultron, which I've always been very unapologetic for liking. I know I've gotten some flack for that, but I stand by a movie. But at least when you watch it, no one can deny when you watch that the Avengers are the hero and Ultron's absolutely a villain.
Hmm.
Ultron is definitely a villain in it. You see it and you can feel the tension when you fight him. And I feel like it worked in degrees for Thanos, but I feel like that was like the limit of what that should have been. But now it feels like it's every villain. It's like, ah, great. Now it's every villain. Now it turns me off. Like I don't want to connect with the villain. I can understand like why the way they are, sure, but I don't want to root for them. Like I want to root for the hero, man.
Yep. And how could I say this? Yeah. I miss the days where we get proper villains, like I said, and also like the type of Baron Zemo type of villains, the very tactical ones. Now we're just getting some sort of an anti-hero over again, and people are quick to embrace that fact that okay, so we have to sympathize with the villains all the time, which is being a trend and also in Marvel.
Yep.
It is very bad. And going back to when I did enjoy the fight scenes that he's involved in, especially the opening scene, very
Oh
reminiscent of
yeah.
very reminiscent of the old movies that I've watched. And what I really found funny was the fight between, or this a fight scene between him and his wife. It's like a dance, like a
Oh
choreography of sorts. It wasn't like
yeah.
a proper spar or even a proper fight scene. It's like, are we actually dancing here?
Oh, dude, that scene, yeah, it was like watching a ballet, and I get they
Yeah.
want to show off, and they're trying to give the whole visual look, because they're trying to do the whole Asian exploitation, which is
Mm.
fine. I get it. Like I come from a background where we love those type of things. Like,
Oh
and
yeah.
once again, I'm near Chicago. We have Chinatown. I love hanging out in Chinatown. Trust me, I've had many drunken memories devouring that food over that way, and I will not apologize for it. And Obviously, I go like whether it's the Thai area, where it's the Japanese area. There's a lot of great demographics in those areas, so I get
Mm.
it. And I don't. I want more like Asian based flicks. That's fine, but I feel like it's. I mean, obviously, I'm not Asian, but I feel like it would be more authentic to give Asians something to call their own than to give them something that's already exists. Like, okay, let's just make it Asian, and we're seeing that with a lot of these properties. Like, oh, we'll just give them the race swap version. It's just like, man, why you giving these people the sloppy seconds, whether it's a black character or a female character or an Asian character? You're
Mm.
seeing it happen more and more. But anyway, sorry,
No, yeah,
I went on a tangent. Let's get back to the question. Where were we at again?
yeah, on the dance scene.
Oh, the dancing.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it
dance
was a
scene.
ballet. Yeah, okay. I get where I was getting at now. Yeah, they're trying to show off the whole like Asian culture with the ballet and the dance. My issue with it is just like her once her dad his dad got his ass kicked by her. Like he like Shang-Chi losing his fight.
Mm.
Why is it somehow women are always
Always
invincible? It'd
trumping
be
the men.
really weird if like Steve Trevor got into a fight with Wonder Woman and he won. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't want that to happen. I want Wonder Woman to
don't don't
kick his
give him
ass.
don't give them more ideas, man.
Yeah, I don't want Steve Trevor kick. I want Wonder Woman to beat the crap out of Steve Trevor. I'm good with that. You know, if they're like being playful fighting, but it's like, are you guys gonna do that? No, they won't do that because it seems like the women characters are all the same. Like, and that's really unfortunate. I feel like that's even disrespectful to women because they're saying you all are this way, and there's nothing different. You're all automatically gifted. You had to do little to no work to get to that point, and we're gonna just make you all absolutely amazing. And everyone's gonna worship at your throne, and they think, well, girls are gonna like this because of that. But it's funny because a lot of girls like to invest in movies that feature the guys. I mean, just look at Aquaman. Aquaman was a huge box office success worldwide. And their
Mm.
lead role was a man. And those women, I don't even know if they enjoyed the story or the action, but you know what they enjoyed about Aquaman? They love
Jason
looking at
Momoa.
Jason Momoa, and that's all that they want. And they're willing to spend that money again and again. And every now and then, you'll have a girl who likes seeing a killer female flick. That's fine. I don't care. But I've
Yeah.
seen now women get annoyed when they're starting to pack up. Okay, raise this way. Um, we got Star Trek women acting this way. We have Marvel women act this way. They're starting to see that there's a trend here. It's a
Mm.
narrative, and they're trying to push that. And I'm seeing it happen with the comic books too. Like, look up a DC writer. What's up, Coldera? How you doing, dude?
Caldera's here. Yeah.
Yeah, good dude. Look at anything Tom King touches.
Mm.
Yeah, Tom King. Here's what Tom King does. He'll take his main character, which will be a guy, and then there'll always be a girl, and the guy will be a self insert of Tom King, whoever he's writing at that moment, and then the girl will be whoever the guy is with, whether it's a girlfriend or a wife. But that girlfriend and wife will be absolutely amazing. They'll be the best fighter ever, and the guy character will be a whiny baby brat, and who has to go to mommy all the time.
Mm.
This is what Tom King does, and I'm seeing this play out in comic books so bad. And like, it's weird because when Tom King first started writing Batman, it was pretty damn good. No lie. I really
Yeah,
mean
the
that.
the
I'm
first
genuinely
part.
speaking.
Yeah, the
And
first.
then the wedding, aka the not wedding, happened, and all of a sudden Batman became this mopey little bitch. And all of a sudden it's like Batman stopped being Batman. It was Batman became Tom King. And all of a sudden, before you know it, Batman was a self insert of who Tom King was. And then he translated that mentality to Strange Adventures with Adam Strange. He's doing it with Mr. Miracle as well, Scott Free with Big Barda. Every book revolves. I feel like his stories are about him and his wife and whatever that deranged relationship is about.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I, I've got nothing to say to Tom King. I think he's also the same person who recently rewrote Superman, correct?
That was Tom Taylor. So you
Tom
got two
Taylor,
Toms
yeah.
wrecking the
My
shit out
God.
of everything. Tom King is the god. You ever hear about the thing that happened with Tom King and Jay Lee? Jay Lee was a penciler who did a cover, a variant cover, might I add, for a Cyber Frog variant
Mm,
cover, and Jay Lee did the art for it. And then later he got attached to a Rorschach number 1, which is written by Tom King. And all of a sudden, people are like, "Hey, look, Jay Lee did work for Comicsgate and Ethan Van Sciver with Cyberfrog." And all of a sudden, Tom King had the virtue signal, and he had to make it about how he didn't want to work with Jay Lee again. But then Jay Lee fired back, but it was in the most unfortunate circumstances. When Tom King was trying to cancel him,
mm,
Jay Lee had put out that his dog died. So you want to talk about kicking a man when he's down? Jay Lee was angry, and as he should be. And then
yeah.
Tom King, believe it or not, he apologized, and I think that's only because AT&T told him to, because DC Comics is owned by AT&T, that happened. And Jay, I think he's Korean. I think Jay Lee, very talented artist. Look him up sometime. JAE and then Lee, very talented, and his cover for Cyberfrog is good. It's just really unfortunate it had to come to those events where, oh, hey, look, another opportunity to go after EVS and Comicsgate. Yeah, it's sad when we're seeing all these like female characters are all written the same and by guys like Tom King, and we're seeing it happen in Hollywood, seeing it happen on TV shows like, and they're all written the same way too. Don't forget Doctor Strange, when they
Mm,
originally was supposed to be he was supposed to be originally in the end of WandaVision. Then Kevin Feige said, "Oh well, we can't have the white man teaching a woman how to do magic." So they took him out for identity politics. Like, this is fucking nuts. Like, she's literally going out of her mind, mentally stable. She needs someone who can keep her powers in control. Who better than us than Stephen Strange? But nope, we can't have him do that because he's a man, and a man's not allowed to teach a woman how to do powers. Like, oh, these
yeah.
people, it's
And
so exhausting.
who helped Scarlet Witch in that one? Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. What's really funny on that part also is the way that Monica didn't acknowledge the damage that Scarlet Witch did in that entire show.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that these people won't forget what you did for them, or something like that. What?
Mm-hmm.
You
Say,
enslave an entire town, and what do you mean about that?
oh, dude, atrocious. And that's really sad because I don't feel like Elizabeth Olsen as an actress was bad, like in that show. Like, she's got
It's good.
talent.
Mm.
She's talented, and then you're thinking, okay, I can get with this concept if someone was like manipulating her to do it. But nope, it ends up being she was doing this all along, and you just gotta mindlessly forgive her. Like, what if you or I was like a caretaker, someone who takes care of a senior citizen, and then before you know it, one day you and I, we wake up and we're stuck living this world of Wanda Maximoff, this fake reality. We can't attend to who we're supposed to be the caretaker of because we're stuck held prisoner in a town of her own
Mm.
misery. And what if that senior we're supposed to take care of dies because we can't be their caretaker? That makes us look bad. Who are we going to be pissed off at when that power unfolds? We're going to be pissed at her because we miss taking care of someone that we're supposed to take care of because this lady is out of control of her powers. Absolutely insane. And then Monica had the audacity to say, "This town will never understand what you did for them." Like, are you fucking kidding me? You really said that? This town will never understand what you. What did she do for them? What
Enslave
did
them and everything.
what did she do for them? She took advantage of their lives. You can see, like, in those scenes in WandaVision where they're trying to, like, break out of their character or their happy-go-lucky characters. Once again, I could have been with the concept if there was a villain manipulating her to doing it, but it
Mm.
was all her, which
All
makes it
her.
so much worse.
And it does make a lot of sense for Doctor Strange to intervene at that point.
Yeah. At that point, you just gave reason for why Doctor Strange should show up because she's so out of control with the powers. Instead, nope. We're just you gotta go with this, roll with it. Don't question it. Yeah, it's what's a ginger neck girl in the Falcon the Winter Soldier? Same thing. She was
Mm.
literally killing innocent people, and somehow they want you to sympathize with her. So it's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like she's a literal terrorist, like textbook non woke definition. You want me to sympathize with this girl who's basically supposed to play Antifa girl?
Mm.
No, not fucking happening whatsoever. Yeah, get the fuck out of here with that garbage.
Carly. Yeah,
Oh
Carly
yeah.
from.
I just call her Ginger, but yes, you're right. It is Carly.
I didn't watch most of them because
Keep it that way.
yeah. Okay, so just going back to Shang-Chi again. Yeah, we did enjoy Wenwu. We didn't enjoy Shang-Chi as a character. Definitely didn't enjoy Aquafina or
Oh,
um, Marvel's Katie as well. The sister, I think we have also mixed feelings about that. It could have been better if they just focus on the sister and rename the entire movie.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh
because
God,
there's a better arc, right? There's a better arc with the sister. But all of the parts that she's involved with and the way that she's what do you call this, doing some exposition, none of it makes sense, especially when she revealed how she was better at martial arts compared to Shang.
Uh huh. Oh
Say
God, it's terrible.
you're watching YouTube videos or something for you to learn the martial arts. And keep it the people should actually keep in mind that Shang-Chi was trained by Wenwu for the most part.
By
That's
an
what
actual
we learned.
master.
Yeah, and this person, his sister, just told them that, or they told the audience that, I learned the stuff that they guys trained with, and I made it better at one point. You weren't trained by Wenwu, you weren't trained by your mother, for the most part. At least for the most part, you even weren't trained by that dealer or anyone significant. So how did you learn all of these things in the first place?
No, it's really piss poor writing, and they expect you to go with it, and it's like I'm not gonna be sold. The whole gist of a hero's journey is to know make you believe in what they can do and show you how they got from point A to point B. But they want to skip the routine. They want to say no, we're not going to show you how you get from point A to point B. We want you to just accept it and just roll with it. And you don't feel and because you don't get the point A point B, you don't feel anything. You don't see the trials and the tribulations. You don't see the
Mm,
peaks and valleys. You don't see when she gets hurt and comes rises back up to rise to the occasion. You just see it. She just always was and always will be at the top of her game, and it makes it that much harder to invest in a character like that. And not only was Shang-Chi's sister like awful, but Aquafina was as
Aquafina as
well.
well.
Oh my god, they were both absolutely awful. One, her sister is just she she has no personality. There's no likability to her character,
Mm.
and she's just whiny. And then Aquafina's just got the most annoying voice in the world. She's got this like weird rasp to her, and then when she
Mm.
speaks, everything just goes wrong. It's like Mad Mardigan, where are you when I need you to make fun of Aquafina? Because that man he would rip her into shreds.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. That's probably the case Mad would be able to give as far as our Aquafina's character would go. And yeah, going back to the sister, another thing that I hate is how come she got this entire whole underground fighting ring going on? Where
No,
did she learn that shit from? Obviously, she wasn't talking to their father. So she did
no.
mention that I built this whole estate from the ground up.
Yes,
How?
she did. I know weird things can happen. It doesn't make sense. I can do that over her. I can see someone doing good business deal and showing us how. They're telling us a lot of things, but they're not showing us it. If they actually showed us
Yeah,
how they
it
got
could
there,
have
I
been
can
make
do that.
sense.
Yeah, make it make sense. But they're
Mm,
not doing it. It's just tell all but show nothing. And then a lot of these writers and producers, they like to wait till these movies have been out for a few weeks, and then they like to add in and fill in the blanks. Like, oh, well, this means that, and this means that. I'm like, did you
Yes.
just think of that 5 minutes ago? You know, it's almost like they don't write complete scripts now, and
Mm,
then they're like, we'll figure out the blanks after the movie comes out, and we'll define it. Then that's and I'm noticing that the scripts, these stories are not feeling as much like a complete cohesive story. It feels like there's a lot of blanks, and once again, it's tell and without show, and that's a problem. Like maybe I could be sold on her as a boss if I saw her, you know, go through they could have gone some quick 3 4 minute montage style of her rising to becoming like a successful underground crime boss. They could have given us something, but nope, didn't do that. They want to focus on Shang and Aquafina following him around. I would
mm.
seriously, I would have been all down for Shang-Chi's sister to have a rise to the underground scene if it meant having to deal with Aquafina less.
Oh man, yeah. You could actually make a case that they could have taken out Aquafina's character completely and made
Completely whole, yeah.
and and made it a brother and sister duo instead.
Oh yeah, I could get with that idea. I really
Mm,
could. That I feel like that would be it would feel more personal at that point. It's brother versus sister. It's like a battle in the family.
yes.
I could give that concept because it really does show a person because like you want to teach them a lesson, but at the same time you can't kill them. So
Mm,
that makes that interesting in that regard. But no, you have Aquafina there, and she's making everything unbearable to listen to. Oh god, that voice is it's terrifying. Not in like I'm legitimately scared. It's so bad to listen to.
yeah.
And I would have been down for it to be Shang-Chi versus his sister.
Mm,
And it'd be one thing if she was kicking his ass, like, you know what? And they showed how she got to that route, and all of a sudden he started rising to the occasion only to beat her at the end. I could have done that, but no, it's she's the best fighter, but we're gonna promote the movie as him as the best fighter. It's if they're so confident in Shang-Chi's sister, just make a movie about her, show how confident. But the problem is they aren't that confident because they want the money name. They know that the name Shang-Chi
will
makes
get people
more
on the seats.
yeah, so
Mm,
they don't want to fully commit. So they want no they want to walk around it. They want to dance around the idea. It's like they might as well like soon maybe we'll have a Spider-Man movie. Like we're gonna make a movie focused around Michelle Jones, but we're gonna call it Spider-Man. But we know if we call it Michelle Jones, people won't see it because they want the Spider-Man name brand. Like it's smart and fucked up marketing. They know how to take advantage of marketing and bait and switch people. So like, all right, we'll tell the name, but we won't give them the action.
yeah, it just it goes to show that with ever whatever Hollywood does right now, it's like they take on a specific IP and then establish IP and then run with it into the ground, regardless if it's related to the story itself or even not paying homage to the existing product. It's like we just going to take this name of a character, the name of the franchise, and then do our own spin in it, and expecting that people will just gobble up and buy the tickets for it.
Uh huh.
So it's very bad. And going back to that one, let's go ahead, probably end this talk with Shang-Chi is concerned with the worst part of this movie for me. The worst part of the movie for me is when the lead trainer or the archer died and then giving the reins over to Aquafina. Like,
Uh huh.
okay, so the character died. And then it's up to Aquafina to take that very important shot on the soul sucker or whatever that abomination of a character or creature is.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I mean, they could have gone to a lot of different routes. Also mentioning that the death dealer, one of the better characters on this movie, died like a bitch. He
Yeah.
died like a
That was
bitch in this movie.
bad. I'm
Very.
like, wow, you get this character who actually seemed pretty formidable, and also
Mm.
out of nowhere he's nothing. Like, so which one is it? Was he always good, and all of a sudden they like forget about logic? Like, you made this guy went from a hero to a zero, except a villain. Like, in terms of like the whole like very credible to an absolute nobody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's Death Dealer is like a wasted opportunity of what could have been, but nope, they don't care about that
and
because
he died i- in between a comic relief joke, if you remember, right?
yes, yes, he
That
did.
that's one
Oh,
of the worst things, worst part of that movie. You have this very formidable opponent or villain, and then he died like a bitch in between a joke that was being made, a usual MCU joke like, yeah, we don't need your help, and then someone dies. Okay, now we need to join forces. Why? Imagine if that dealer was there, he could have done a lot more damage opposing to whatever the creatures were. So it is so bad. So going back to the archer dying, it's like, okay, so you could have written this far better. Like, what if the archer broke his arm, and
uh-huh.
giving some tips to Aquafina or Katie that you need to do this, breathe deep or whatever, and then she does it, and then the master is still alive, and it's a big payoff when in regards to that writing. And after the whole thing happens, the master goes out there, let's say with a broken arm, and then Katie approaches her. Did I do good? You did okay. Now let's go back to your training. So that makes a bit more sense rather than this.
Yes.
So just dying and then giving the reins over to her. What if sorry? What if she missed that shot? Then they're all dead. Right?
Yeah. She's not allowed to miss shot because he's a strong woman. She's not
Is she
allowed.
though? Is she
No,
though?
she's actually not. No, no, you're right though. She's
Yeah.
really actually not, but they want to sell some of this concept that every lady is super amazingly badass. And there are a few that are. But to like
Mm,
translate that every single one is like that is it's a textbook lie. But of course, we gotta pretend that that doesn't happen. Like not every girl does want to do it. My girlfriend does not want to do it. And trust me, she's an action lover aficionado. But the last thing she wants to do is to go be
something like
badass.
this.
Yeah, she is. That's far from her interest. That is far
Mm,
from it. Like I said, and she'll watch. She's down for. She'll be down for a good badass action flick. But you can't catch her want to go to shooting range. That's fine. I'll go do that. She can do her stuff at home. That's fine. But
mm.
they're translate the once again that every girl is this insane badass. It's like they talk about how much they hate men, but they want to make the girls act like the men and then have them embrace all the traits that men like.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like, I thought you hated men so much, but yet you're trying to make all the women like the men. Like, so which one is it? Which one
Mm.
is it? You gotta figure out what's your coherent argument on that because there's a lot of inconsistencies in that argument, but it seems like a lot of them don't care. They're okay with it. It's just it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
Doesn't add up. And going back to that statement of yours, women taking on all the traits of the man, what men have. For example, if people already watch Masters of the Universe in Netflix,
Oh
that's a prime
yeah.
example of what happened there. And it's very bad. People enjoyed it because, again, it's just plain old nostalgia baiting at this point.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah,
It's
just
it's
like
all.
X-Men 97.
Oh, jeez. I'm not
Yeah.
excited for that one.
No, I'm not see that's the thing. I'm not even gonna watch it. I already know what's gonna happen, and anyone who's getting fooled by now, like you're fooling yourself. Like
Mm,
these shows are not these people who are involved in these shows, they're not gonna change. They're gonna double down and these things they're gonna kill these products into the ground and they're gonna die with them, figuratively of course. And they're gonna act like it's all fine, but then once they're out of a job, they're probably just move over and do the same thing to somewhere else.
over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
and
same
and
thing.
I see your classified line. Yeah, fixing Shang-Chi.
Mm.
Fix Simu Liu. Either make him likable or replace him with a guy who's actually gonna be Bruce Lee. That's your first issue.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead on that one because there's nothing really much to talk about this movie except for the parts that we said. And also, if you guys want a proper woman of power, you already have it in this movie, and her name is Michelle Yeoh.
Yes.
That's a proper woman of power right there. and also the mother of Shang-Chi. So you have those. It could have ended there and pandering there because what happened to the sister, it really gave it a lot more mixed reviews on that one. You didn't focus on Shang-Chi, the character. You just focus it on the side parts of the movie itself. And for my end, or at least how would you fix this one? I would have overhauled the entire thing. I would have
Oh,
not, yeah, I
yes.
would have not released this movie as is. You know what I have in mind? It may be some sort of a generic thing. I would have made this into some sort of a Mortal Kombat thing.
Ooh, I could
Like
get that.
yeah, you have the sister and also Shang-Chi going there, giving their at least their origin parts or origin stories and what happened. And then let's say when we would play some sort of a Shang character, and then he's on top of the ladder and they would work going up there, actually challenging him
Yeah.
in regards to the rings. So that would make a lot more sense. They would meet a lot more people towards that journey. And my idea might work as a series and not as a movie itself. And I was if
Ooh,
they made
okay.
it into a series, let's say on that scenario, I would be more inclined on watching that one. And a lot of people would be more intrigued. Okay, so you have a tournament including which revolves around Shang-Chi as a character, a proper Shang-Chi as a character. And
Yep.
also I'm not going to take out Fu Manchu.
No, you
It's either
don't take
that,
out Fu Manchu. Fuck you, China. If you can't take it, fuck you.
yeah, and that would revolve there. Probably some major fights and them meeting Iron Fist in the
Ooh,
tournament.
yeah. Danny
Some
Rand.
yeah, and he probably won't win because the premise here is Shang-Chi getting the ten
Oh, yeah.
rings.
And that's
The,
fine.
yeah, the proper 10 rings power that Fu Manchu has. Uh, I really didn't enjoy the premise of the bracelets that they have in this movie because number one, it's really very unreliable. Imagine having those kinds of weapons. Yeah, you could control them, could create a lot of damage, but within 5 minutes of their fight, you could see that another person could manipulate the rings into their
Oh,
favor.
yeah. The rings have no specialty. Them. They should have like a chosen one of sorts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it should have been with the Mandarin. But yeah, that's one thing I would change. Yeah, I would agree with you. It would be an overhaul. I'd take out Katie completely.
Yeah.
I would have when it would be Fu Manchu. I would leave the Mandarin stuff out of this movie because that's an Iron Man story, historically speaking. So yeah, I'd make it around Shang-Chi and his sister. I'd recast Shang-Chi, I'd maybe keep the actress who played his sister,
Sister, yeah.
maybe. Yeah, maybe I'd keep her and I'd keep what's his name? It was one Wu. I keep them just a few renames, but yeah, I would have no soy. Also, I want to say better CG because seriously, like there are times where some of the scenes in this movie look awful to look at on my TV, and I
Mhm.
know like when you have the nicer TVR, the easier it is to like look for the bits that don't look as nice, but these movies have hit rock bottom with how they look visually. It almost feels like it's like become like McDonald's. They just kind of just throw money away with the effects and they don't think about it. And they're like, oh hey, here's your Happy Meal with your toy. Go ahead and take that. Oh yeah, don't think about that for later. Just consume, enjoy it. It's like that. What's that one guy? There's a clip. He's like, stop asking questions and just consume and get excited for the next product. I'll just send you the clip, but this guy literally said this.
Yes, yes. I think it's part of the movie as well. Um, I think I also have a clip for that one, but it's in a different sense. So this might be a reaction also.
Do yourself a favor. Stop asking questions and get the hell out of here.
That would be another reaction to that one.
Oh,
And
totally.
yeah, yeah, just properly expounding. I would recast Fu Manchu to this guy.
Ooh. Oh
Yeah, classic.
yeah,
Kari Hiroyuki
yes,
Tagawa.
yes. I am
Nothing,
so down for this.
nothing screams Fu Manchu at this point than
Right?
him. You can see,
No.
look at these two
I see
specimens,
it. And we
right?
know he's capable. Give him a good script. He's
Oh,
got
very
the
capable.
yeah, very capable. So yeah, give me Fu Manchu already, damn it. Yeah, so you can change that, change who Shang-Chi is, get rid of Katie completely. If you
Mhm.
want to call it keep Tony Long, give him some original role to call his
Yes.
own. So, and I think that'd be cool because it would say, "Hey, listen, this villain debuted in a movie," and that's kind of a cool, unique thing that would help it stand out. A original Marvel movie villain who debuted in a movie, kind of like the way
Mm,
Harley Quinn debuted in Batman the Animated Series. She wasn't from the comics, but she
yeah.
came from a very successful cartoon, and people warmed up to her, and the rest is history. Be nice to have original characters like that have adaptations. Of course, have them be good ones.
Yeah, look at Robin Shu nowadays. He looks like a an actor that could take in the role of Shang-Chi. He, at least in my opinion.
Seriously, he's aged very well.
Yes.
Holy
Is it?
crap. You look at him, you're like, dude, you have not aged at all. Even with a bald head, he's not aged at all.
Yeah, yeah. Look at this. Huh?
Oh,
Yeah, oh
yeah,
my
he's
god.
looking badass. He's got
Eh,
the he's got a gray haired wig, which if he can still grow hair, he should grow a gray wig. He'll look like like a martial arts wizard.
mm, yeah, I think between the two of us, we could actually create a better script and also a better world building, story building movie, and compared to what we have in Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, and I want to add something to that. Make the story smaller in scale and more
Yes,
personal.
yes.
Don't Not
More street level.
everything needs to be big spectacle. Like this is the type of story that should have been street level. I can understand like a
Mm,
concept like the Inhumans or the Eternals being cosmic and in space and big on spectacle. That's fine. That makes sense. But not every story needs to have every character like on the line. Like, just have it be Shang Chi and his sister. Like, it just feels like it's like, oh, hey, look, everyone can be a hero. It's just like, great. Well, there's no point of heroes when everyone's a hero and everyone's a villain. It just
and
doesn't work.
e- everything messes it up. Also knowing that this, or at least the area, Wakanda Part Two, as I call it, why aren't the Avengers aware of this location? They should have known this one, and it just messes up everything in continuity. But I guess they really don't care about the other stories, especially for Phase One and Two. Just move forward to what they called it, all new, all different Marvel,
Well, in the
since they
comic books, they called it All New, All Different Marvel in 2015.
yeah.
Like looking back on that in retrospect, it looks like they not only created that run to please the Twitter crazies, but they also created to say, "Hey, listen, we hear you cared about the comics. Now you also care suddenly,
Mm,
and now we're seeing that happen." Oh God, it's sorry, losing my train of thought here.
yeah, it's fine.
What did
I
I
think it's
last say
already
again?
all new, all different
Oh,
Marvel.
I'll do all different Marvel. Yeah, I'll do all different Marvel. It's like now because they have these versions of these characters because they skip 30 to 40 years of history. Say we're
Mm.
gonna skip the Beta Ray Bills, we're gonna skip the Eric Mastersons, we're gonna
Yeah.
go straight to Jane Foster. We're gonna skip. She's gonna be the one that gets
Oh
to
my
skip
god.
the line. She gets to skip the line and go through those characters. It's like they create those characters just to say, "Hey, you can't argue with us now because it happened in the comics." They created
Mm.
those characters just to say that it happened in the comic and now they can use them. So it's almost like All New, All Different Marvel was the catalyst for Phase 4 in
For
many
everything. Yeah.
ways. Yeah. It was, and literally, we know if you had told me that in 2015, I honestly would have not believed that. But boy, would I have been wrong 6
Mm.
years later. And it's those books were like 95% of them were not good. And I tried giving a good amount of them a chance. I think I liked one book at the time that came out, and that was the Doctor Strange one. But other than that, yeah, forget the rest of it. But it's sad to see that translate because it's like the further they dig deeper into that hole, it's gonna be that much harder for people to come back. If should it ever
Mm.
be watchable again, you're creating a greater uphill battle. I don't want to be part
Well,
of that battle.
yeah. I think yeah, the future of MCU right now is getting bleaker by the moment, and every release that they're making is just digging them up to a much deeper grave. But oh yeah, I think we're at the end of the discussion as far as Shang-Chi is concerned, because there's nothing really that much positive that we could talk about this except for the lights and glamour what the movie has, probably Asian representation, but not the first. People keep claiming that this is the first representation of
Oh,
Asians.
I hate it when
Very
they lie
bad.
like that.
Yeah, but yeah. Anything else that you have for as far as MCU movies? Is there anything else that you're looking forward to at this point, or nothing at all?
I'll see Spider Man in theaters. I mean, he's my favorite fictional character of all time. I'll
Mm.
see it. Will it be good? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because like they need this movie to do good. They need this to do good because here's the thing: Black Widow reported for losing money. Shang-Chi reportedly lost money. Eternals is probably
Losing
next in
money.
line. And it's
Yeah.
kind of weird when the American audience is the one who is less receptive of it than the overseas because I honestly thought it would do better in America than it did overseas, but instead we're having the opposite here. It's just like, are people in America like realizing this is not actually good? 'Cause here's the thing, though: a lot of people aren't going to look at a lot of Norwegians are not going to look at Spider-Man and think the multiverse. They're just going to say, "Hey, it's a Spider-Man movie. I want to go see it," because Spider-Man does attract normies,
Mm.
and that's just a default fact of life. They do, and I hope it's good. I'm not banking on it being good, but it would be awesome if it was. Thor: Love and Thunder could fuck off. Black Panther, I don't care about. I like Black Panther, but I don't care about that. I don't care about.
Doctor Strange.
I want to. I love
Yeah,
this
me too.
character. I love the comic character. Sam Raimi's directing it,
Mm.
but even then, I don't know if it's already been shot. It's already been filmed. It's been done for like 3 or 4 months now.
Mm.
I don't know if it's. I feel like they're gonna make it a movie where it's gonna be Doctor Strange and friends. It's like, oh hey, this is Strange, Wong, America Chavez, and the Scarlet Witch, and I want a movie on Doctor Strange.
You're,
It,
we
it,
haven't had a proper Doctor Strange movie as well.
no, and they're making it where everyone can be a hero. I don't want everyone to be a hero. Some people need to be supporting characters who are humans at best. Not everyone needs to be the hero. Like it's once again, when everyone's a hero, no one is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I have to do. I do. Sorry, I do have the same sentiment, and the only thing that I'm looking forward to MCU is Doctor Strange as well. Somehow I'm not baited into nostalgia feels for Spider-Man just because of what we're seeing right now, and I'm
No,
not
and that's
expecting it to
fair.
be good. Not expecting it to be good, and that's
Mhm.
sad because Spider-Man is actually one of the most beloved characters in superhero history, alongside Batman. Those
Mhm.
two. Okay, so that's all the Marvel talk that we have right now. Let's go ahead. Probably spend a few more minutes because I know it's already late out there, Nick. As far as music is concerned, you being a metal aficionado,
Mhm.
what are you listening right now? What are you in right now? Maybe some people will be watching this in the replay, or right now would get some music recommendations from you.
Okay, yeah. Let's see here. I've been listening to the new Exodus album, Persona non grata. And they're
Mm.
obviously a very historical thrash band. Some people think they may have been the blueprint for the first thrash band because even though Bonded by Blood didn't come out till the mid '80s, they had recorded it sometime back. It just they had record label issues that caused them to be delayed, so they never got the big jump the way like the Metallicas and Megadeths of the world did.
Oh yeah, they
However,
didn't.
they have the same amount of underground respect, if not even more. And unlike many like peers of their peers, Exodus are still strong against the system. Like if you look at some of the lyrics like clickbait or REMF, they are very much still against the actual system. And
Mm.
it's funny because a lot of the guys in the band are all politically different. You got two guys who lean a little bit more left. You have three guys who lean a little bit more right. And it shows you, even though there's different points of views, they all get along. At the end of the day, they have a common enemy, and that's government, and that they can at least come together and agree on that is great, and we need that because we've seen a lot of bands, whether it's in punk or hardcore metal, they're selling themselves out left and right, and it's like, oh, I thought you were this anti-state band. It's like everyone wants to be anti-state law until it comes time to actually be against the state. And Exodus, I will give them credit for being consistent on that. So they were still calling it out. They're calling out no clickbait media too, which is nice because we don't see a whole lot of that. Like I feel like in the '70s, all these things would have been called out, but nowadays
Yeah.
it's like everyone's afraid to say these things, and Exodus is doing that. I'm trying to think here. I've been listening to this classic heavy metal album from this band called Warlock. Warlock is great. I highly recommend them. Their singer, her name is Doro Pesh. You guys may have heard of her. She has a solo project, but Warlock is great. I would highly recommend them to listen to. They had a song called All We Are, which is the catchiest jam of all time. And the album, God, what was the album called? What was it called? Triumph and Agony. It came out in 1987. They put out 4 albums in the 80s, and then they split and never got back together.
Oh my god, that's sad.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's also cool because they had a cool legacy that they left off as, and they just kind of like they didn't mess with it. They kind of left it alone. They're like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna leave this as is.
Mm.
What else?
Great.
Of course, I'll always go back to old Motorhead. Obviously, Motorhead is legendary. Like if you want to go, I'm gonna actually recommend one of their older, weirder albums, Sacrifice,
Mm.
in the mid '90s. Now, Lemmy was against the system until the day he died, but also he loved living the rock and roll life. And in Sacrifice, it's a great album that kind of gets glanced over just because the '90s were weird in America, and for some reason, rock and roll music, unless it was grunge, was ignored. I don't know why, but I was a few years old, so I couldn't tell you why. But for some reason, it was glossed over. But now people who listen to it are like, oh, hey, it's a pretty damn good album. Also, the new Accept album is good. Too Mean to Die. They're from Germany, and they've kind of got that traditional Iron Maiden, Judas Priest style heavy metal thing going on, and they've been on a roll since 2010's Blood of the Nations,
Mm.
and it's basically they've been making the same album since then, but the difference is that that same album happens to still be good. So I highly recommend Too Mean to Die from Accept.
Too mean
It's
to die.
great. Yeah, it's great, solid heavy metal, like just fun heavy metal that makes you know want to cheer and headbang and do all those things. And as far as death metal is concerned, Pestilence, Exedivum is a great album. They're like one of those bands who has more of like a progressive edge to their death metal. If you want
Mm.
straight gore, I mean, Cannibal Corpse, Violence Unimagined is fantastic as far as straight gore. And once again, another band, they didn't ever really fall in line, but they also don't really speak out. They're very apolitical, which is fine too. It's like, why push away anyone? So
Just
it's like,
because of politics.
yes,
Everyone that just wants to enjoy your music and also whatever you need to pump out to them. Why do you
yes,
have to mix it with politics? And it's really very sad to see those because you get to see famous people like, let's say, Mark Hamill doing that shit.
yes. Oh, yeah, that's a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad, but there's lots of great music. Even
Mhm.
Japan has a great
Oh yeah,
heavy metal
definitely.
band. Oh god, Japan scene. Japan has all the genres covered, but I because of Razorfist, I discovered Anthem. And I'm
Mm.
like, man, where has Anthem been my whole life? But now that I know about them, I can't stop listening to Anthem.
Have you listened to X Japan?
I have not, but I do know Marty
Oh my
Friedman is very
god.
well versed in Japan. Marty
I
Friedman is insane in Japan.
X Japan is one of the most iconic hair metal and heavy metal bands
Ooh.
in Japan.
Do you like
They
loudness?
Yes, of course. I mean,
Loudness is
I
great.
don't know all of the I don't know all of their songs, but I'm very familiar with Loudness, X Japan, Darren Gray, sometimes what do you
Yes.
call this? Siam Shade. If
Yes, I
you're
know
a fan
Sam
of,
Shade.
I'm a big fan of Siam Shade because they're on
Mhm.
the more progressive pop, progressive rock edge.
Yeah.
Those are the bands that I enjoy. But when it comes to heavy metal, um, as far as the Japanese is concerned, I really love X Japan. They made a 30-minute song,
Ooh.
very very long. There's some parts that are mostly piano and also singing, but the way they constructed the song is very hard to pull off live because it's continuous double pedal and everything. It's like, okay, this is very hard to pull off. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Japanese culture as well. Though I don't enjoy most of the newer anime as opposed to, let's say, Jeremy and the others enjoy My Hero Academia. I didn't enjoy that for some reason. Um, Even Attack on Titan, I didn't enjoy. It's
Really?
very sad. Yeah, I
Interesting.
did enjoy. I think I'm more of the retro viewer,
Okay.
the older
Okay.
ones. Like I'm a big sucker for Dragon Ball. Big fan of that. The older ones,
We're talking
Dragon Ball.
Frieza era? Frieza era?
Until Majin Buu era.
Okay, so
So
yeah,
the
so
entire
Frieza is
Z.
before Majin Buu. Yeah.
Yeah, until Z.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and what do you call this? I also enjoy BTX, Hunter, X Hunter. If you know
Yes.
that anime, that's
Okay.
also good. I could give you a lot of recommendations. That's why I keep typing it
Please.
out on the super chats because I know that you guys haven't watched these old animes that are very far better than what we have right now. I mean, what do you call this? Arc wise, they might be a bit inferior, but when it comes to story, the older ones have the edge compared to the new ones. I also love, and Sherry's right. I also love Studio Ghibli movies, but not everything. I haven't
Hmm.
watched everything.
Hmm.
Yeah. As far as music is concerned, I listen to progressive rock all day long, and also
No.
jazz
Oh,
music.
if you play jazz, you're talented as fuck. That's all I
No,
gotta
I don't.
say is,
No, I don't play jazz.
jazz
I
players
play.
are freaks of nature. Freaks of nature. They're
Mm,
monsters. Like I see those guys play, I'm like, they must play to a point where they have no life.
oh yeah, it's all practice most of the time, and also discipline. Same with prog because most of the jazz concepts are crossing over to progressive rock as well.
Hmm.
Nick, we're about to close, and we'd like to thank all of the people who are here right now. It's actually picked to 5 people again, down from one a while ago. So if you guys haven't watched the first part, we did a lot of talk regarding MCU stuff, character development, and also Shang-Chi. But
Hmm.
and then again, just a disclaimer, there's not really a lot to talk about the movie. If you want to watch it again, guys, go ahead and watch it. But Nick, I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to at least plug what's going on for you this upcoming week because I know you do have Toxic Tuesday as you always
Yes.
do.
Yes. So okay. So, anyways, I just want to say first of all, thank you for having me on. It's always fun to
No,
talk
thank you.
to other people, especially from across the world. So I hope we can do this again, whether it's on your channel or on mine or on someone else's channel. But I
Yeah.
guess I have a channel, and I got Toxic Tuesday. We have a skip week coming up. But after that skip week, we'll be doing Die Hard December, and we're start off with 3, and then 2, and then 1 for the next 3 weeks in December. So that's what we're going to be going on there. And then I've got a comedy video, and I've got a food video, and I got an album video all on the way. So, and of course, I yell at park cards with Comics Division, Culture Casino, and Sir Talks On. And tomorrow afternoon, I will be hanging out with Brandon, the anime guy, and we'll be going over Christmas gifts. It's gonna be good. Anyways, yes, thanks guys for listening to the chat. You have a fantastic night, evening, afternoon, wherever it is you are. And JM, you have a better evening. Your mic.
Sorry. Nick's
It's
page is
okay.
actually plugged into the comment section and also the description of this video. Visit his page. He does a lot of great content, movies is concerned, and also his Friday comic shop talk. Everything
Yes.
very informative and very entertaining. for the most part.
Thank you.
So we are about to close right now. In my end, I still don't know what I'm going to have. I think I have something for next week. I'm just waiting because there's an episode with a local content creator. We'll be talking about a chick flick, a very romantic chick flick, Serendipity, which I also enjoy. Besides
Okay.
action, I'm a big fan of that movie as well. So I'm going to talk with a personal development coach, and we'll be
Ooh.
breaking down how that movie actually applies in real life as far as dating is concerned. Might be interesting, might be
Oh.
not. Really depend. Uh, it really depends on what your preference in movie is, people. So yeah, that's all for us today. I'll be sending out an outro video, and then Nick and I will do our proper goodbyes because it's already late around there. So again, have a great day, ladies and gentlemen, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Stay safe and enjoy. Take care.